All right. Well, welcome everyone to our Club Executive webinar series. My name is Karen Coots. I am currently a district governor for District 1. I've taken on the secretary role several times in my life. I started in 4-H. I've done club secretary. I've also been district secretary twice. So with that as my background, we will march forth. What I'll do, just because I'm presenting, I may not see if you put a question up in the chat. So if you have a question, I'll try to stop between slides so you can jump in with questions as we go. I have no problem with that whatsoever. So basically, what we're going to talk about tonight is the club secretary role, what to do, how to do it, and best practices to help you along the way. So there is a job description that you can find on iKin. It looks fairly long and involved. And what we're basically going to do through this presentation is just kind of break down how to do each of these, because knowing that you need to help with preparing meeting agendas is all fine and dandy. Knowing how to do it is much more useful. So that's what we're going to try to talk about. So yes, please, Chrissy, if you would monitor the chat for me, that would be fantastic. So each club is either has received or is going to receive a copy of our district planner. And every club is getting a hard copy of that. It is also available in PDF format on the district website on the same page actually where you found the link to this webinar. It's under member resources and club management, and district planner are the links that you click on to get to it. And we can have it available in Word if you need it, or you can just copy and paste out of the PDF, or you can just take the pieces that you need, because it's a very detailed template. You may not need that much detail for your meeting. But we can work with that. So as secretary, it's not usually just on you to prepare the agenda. You just want to touch base with the president or whoever's chairing the meeting and make sure that you're going to have one, and that it's available to members ideally in advance of the meeting so everyone has a chance to prepare. You'll want to include committee reports in that. So if you have standing committees, such as a particular ongoing event, if you work with a bingo or something like that, anything that's ongoing, you can have some set committee reports. Your bar committee, your building committee. You can also include executive reports. Is there anything from the awards chair? Is there anything from any of the other directors or your service director, things like that? One of the things that you will also see in a number of minutes are different sections referring to business. So you'll have business arising from the minutes, you have old business, and you have new business, and each of these are different. Business arising from minutes is something that was mentioned at the last meeting. So you've talked about it, it was in the minutes. You don't really have to discuss it as a club, but you just want to follow up and make sure that something was done. For example, if you decided something at the last meeting and one member was going to take your answer back to the town or whatever, it's just good kin Joe, were you able to get that done? Yes, excellent, done. That's all that business arising from the minutes is. You're not leading into this whole other big discussion. That's where you come into old business. Old business is where you're talking about something that you've talked about at a previous meeting. So someone was looking for more information or more details before you decided to do a project. And so that information comes back. You talked about it before, you're talking about it again. That's old business. And then obviously new business is the opposite. That's something that's brand new. It's a new donation request. It's a new service project idea. It's a new fundraising idea. It's a new social that you want to do with the club. Anything that you haven't talked about before. This is going to be the first time that it's in the minutes. That's what new business is. I know sometimes it can get really confusing, so just want to give some definitions for that. So the next,
Karen, sorry.
Yeah.
Question in the chat. Can you record meetings so you don't miss anything? And I said, it is being recorded. She said, I meant club meetings. I'm not sure what she means.
It would be like what we do at district meetings sometimes, where you record everything and then you're able to listen to it afterwards, just as a reminder. So at least that's how I'm understanding the question. And please feel free to unmute yourself and correct me if I am wrong.
Yes, that's what I was getting at.
Okay.
Thanks, Karen.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that we'll talk about in minutes is you don't have to record every single detail, but by all means, it can be a really useful tool. And I found that really useful when I was district secretary. Was I would get a recording of the meeting afterwards, because they had it connected through the microphones. So anytime someone talked into a mic, that was picked up on the recording. It was really, really useful if you want to just confirm who made a motion or who seconded, and things like that. So it can be a really handy tool to use for sure.
Thank you.
So when it comes to correspondence, the secretary should be is the primary person responsible for anything that comes to the club's post office box and to the club email address. It is crucial that mail not be directed to a member's personal address. Long after you are no longer secretary for the club, someone who doesn't have an up-to-date contact information is going to be sending you stuff. So you want to make sure that all correspondence is directed to an address that is associated to the club and not an individual member. Because the last thing you need is for something catastrophic to happen to the member who's responsible for getting the mail. If it's going to their home address, I mean, life-altering crises happen. House burns down, there's a death or a divorce. Do you really want to count on the fact that their spouse who hates kin is now responsible for your club's personal email or correspondence? So having something that is completely under control of the club and gets passed on from one member to the next is key. The other thing that you want to do when you get correspondence, don't wait until the meeting to deliver it. All that means is that someone who thought they were prepared for the meeting now has new information and now they're no longer prepared. So it slows down the meeting. It leaves them kind of sitting on their back foot and not being as prepared as they thought they were. And for some people that can really throw them off and things are going to get missed. So to the absolute best of your ability, make sure that correspondence gets out to the people who need it as soon as possible. One example would be when you receive the bank statements. Don't hand them to the treasurer at the meeting, because now they have to update their report, and it's going to take time for them to be able to do that. So if there's correspondence that needs to be discussed by all the members, try to get it out to all the members as soon as you can. The ideal way to do that is to get it to your bulletin editor. So it can be just copy and pasted right into the bulletin. So everyone gets all of the information that they need for the meeting all in one place and at one time. And that way everyone is informed and prepared to discuss it at the meeting. So, and then finally, on occasion, a response on behalf of the club will need to be made. If a donation needs to be written, if there's a letter of congratulations to send out to another club that's celebrating an anniversary or a life membership, typically that would default to the secretary's position unless another member is designated to take care of that. When this happens, remember that you're not speaking for yourself, but you're representing the club. So proper spelling, punctuation, and tone are required, whether it's a written hard copy or whether it's email. So the big one, the one that people think of specifically when it comes to secretaries, you record the minutes. You need proper minutes recorded for all general and executive meetings. They must be accurate. This is your legal record of your club's activities. So clubs are all incorporated and your meeting minutes are official. Pardon me. So basically, we've seen a lot of really good minutes and we've seen a lot of not so good minutes. So what you do want to include, or what you must include, things like the date, time, and place, a record of attendance. So who's there and who's not, who chaired the meeting. All motions need to be recorded, including who moved it, who seconded it, and the result of the vote, whether it was carried or whether it was defeated. And you also want to include action plans. Another reason why this is key is because not everyone is able to attend all meetings. So you want to make sure that everyone knows what's going on, that this is what the club has decided and this is what's going to happen. The other nice thing about having the action plan is it works as a really good reminder, because when you send the minutes out, we can read through them and go, oh, shoot, that's right, I was supposed to do that. That's a nice little reminder if you have it in the minutes. Things that you don't need to include. If there are fines, you don't write down the fines. This is not, the minutes are a record of the decisions made by your club. It's not a transcription. You do not need to write every word. Get the important stuff down, but the fact that Goodkin Bob levied a fine against life member Jim for something that they did on the weekend, not important, does not need to be part of the minutes. If there's a discussion that takes place on the motion, you do not need to record who said what. If there are points made for or against, none of that is required in the minutes. You need the decision. This is what we talked, this is what we voted on. This is the results of the vote, and that's all you need. You also don't record how an individual voted. If one person voted against a motion, you don't record that unless it's a poll vote and it's specifically been stated that the results of the vote are going to be recorded in the minutes. That's the only time that you would do that. So, and this is also a legal record of the decisions of your club. How you feel about the decision personally does not have a place in the minutes. So one other thing, just going back to motions, make sure your wording is exact, that you're not paraphrasing. If Goodkin Dawn makes a motion, the way she words the motion is how it gets recorded. Ideally, what you would like to do is have them write it down exactly how they want it to be stated. It's a really good habit. If you can train your club to do that, it will make your life so much easier. that if someone's proposing a motion like that they write it down and give it to you in writing, because then there's no going back and forth. That's not what I meant, but that's what they wrote. So it covers your butt as well. Are there any questions about this so far? Okay. So, you can be the secretary even if spelling isn't your strong suit. Have the information being accurate at that time is the most important thing. Just make sure that if you're aware that you need someone to proofread them, have someone in the club proofread them. The president is ideal because they're chairing the meeting, and so they'll obviously be very aware of what was decided at the meeting. So have them proofread if that would be a benefit for you. Circulate them as soon after the meeting as you can. Quite often, and this is especially critical in clubs that only meet once a month. If someone misses a meeting and there are key decisions made and the minutes don't go out until just before the next meeting, that means that for 2 months, whoever missed the meeting is completely out of the loop. And that's a really hard feeling for someone to feel like they're being shut out of the club. Your club can only be stronger if all of the members are informed. So please make this a priority. Within 3 days of the meeting, send the minutes out so that everyone is up to speed. And again, it comes in handy with the action plan where it's like, okay, Goodkin Joe said that he was going to do something. So let's send out the minutes to make sure, because I didn't see him write it down. So it helps a lot. And that way also the bulletin editor has it so they can include it, and then they'll be included in the bulletin. They'll go out just prior to the next meeting. It's better for members to get it twice than late or not at all. So the other thing that comes up in the agenda is the secretary's report, which is typically just presenting the minutes from the previous meeting. And all you need to do as a secretary is say the minutes were circulated on this date. Are there any errors or omissions? And that just means, did you miss anything? So if you did miss something, just make a note and correct them afterwards. And then once that discussion is done, call for a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting as circulated, or if there are corrections, accept the minutes of the meeting as amended. And then you get someone to move it, or you can move it yourself. You are a member of the club and you're allowed to make a motion. And you can call for a seconder. All those in favor, and then that's a motion that you would then record in your next minutes. So, any questions on minutes? Okay. So the other thing in the job description was for you to have copies of previous year's minutes, or the minutes of the meetings that you've had so far this year, I think. So going back another year would be great, because it's like, well, what did we decide to do last year? If you've got the minutes there, then you're awesome and you have all the answers. Having access to this, whether it's hard copy, is fine if you don't mind carrying paper. But if you have Wi-Fi access, or if you have it saved to your laptop and you can bring that in, or your tablet or whatever, and you can access all of this information quickly and easily, just have them bookmarked so you can get at them. then that makes life a lot easier. But as a rule, when the question comes up, what did we decide at the last meeting? Who was there? Things like that. People look to you as the secretary to have those answers. So another item in the job description was the membership paperwork. In a lot of clubs, this sometimes falls to the president, which it really shouldn't. It could also fall under the heading of registrar or your membership director. So it really doesn't matter who does it, as long as someone does it. I'm just mentioning this because it was in the official job description as part of the role as secretary. So you may be asked, just because it's paperwork. So, but all of this is on ICANN. There's no paper involved anymore. And it's super quick and easy. And if you have any questions at all, national staff or club support directors at the district level, or myself or Dutch, all kinds of people can help you with that. So it's pretty straightforward. So quite often, the secretary is referred to as the right hand of the president. The president may need you to help with the government and national paperwork, which would be like the club reporting and the service reporting and the insurance reporting. So you can help with those, but you also have a club risk manager and hopefully a club service director that could take on those roles as well. You typically would sit at the head table beside the president at the meetings. So it can be really helpful to the president and to yourself as well to be familiar with KIN rules of order. So because there are a lot of times as the secretary where you're just sitting there, you nudge the president, it's like, no, you need a seconder for that motion. And if you have the spaces available in your minutes, then, or in your agenda, and you're just filling in the blank, that makes things a lot easier to track and keep things focused and going forward. So we're getting really close to the end already. So again, you've got agendas that you're responsible for helping with. Correspondence is your baby. Make sure that it's collected regularly and it gets to where it needs to go in a timely manner. Minutes are the biggest part of your job. Be available, be the font of all knowledge, and have access to the reference material that you need. Membership paperwork might be yours, and as always, be helpful to the president. And there are lots of different sources of information where you can find out more about this. As I mentioned, I found the job description on ICANN. There are plenty of other useful resources for you under club administration. I do recommend that you jump onto ICANN and take a nose around and see what all's there. There are some also really good courses available in KIN-U that you can take that don't take a whole lot of time, but can still be really helpful for you as secretary. Conducting effective meetings, that covers rules of order. Taking great minutes, a lot of the tips that we've covered tonight are in there, and a few other ideas and things to keep in mind. That's a video. It takes about 12 minutes to watch. There's a communication course in there, and netiquette, which is really helpful if you're responsible for sending a lot of emails on behalf of the club. And of course, mentors. Mentors can be past secretaries from your own club, or you can talk to your deputy governor to see if they can connect you with someone from another club who has rocked the secretary role in the past. And by all means, you're always welcome to reach out to us at the district if you're still looking for some help and support. And that's all I have for this evening. Are there any questions?
Marcus wants to know, excuse me, what does the secretary do?
You can watch the recording. Okay, I will.
Well, I want to thank you, Karen, for a very informative and concise, quick, well-worded webinar this evening.
Thank you. There. Okay, I will stop the recording now.